South Carolina has seen several major bills passed into law this session that could reshape life in the Carolinas. Cannabis oil is now a legal form of treatment for epilepsy. For many families, this is a life-changing law. We spoke with one mother who's been in the fight since the very beginning. But first, texting while driving. While it's been banned in several cities across the state, it is now illegal to text behind the wheel statewide. Officials are hoping this will keep South Carolina roads safer.
Technology has made it to the point on the interstate where it's not safe for you and your family to be on there.
Picking up your cell phone, reading and responding to a text is something many people think they can do while driving safely.
I know I was coming down the road coming to Columbia here not too long ago, and a girl was coming down driving with her knee and had both hands just texting away.
But lawmakers sought to make that habit illegal this year, stating the dangers of the potentially deadly activity.
To be texting and looking down is about, at 55 miles an hour, is like driving the length of the football field with your eyes closed. And we feel like that it's time for us to be responsible and put a texting bill in place that unifies the whole state's texting law.
The new law supersedes all current city phone and texting bans. Lawmakers point out that while many cities had banned texting, they weren't unified, leaving drivers to guess which law they could be breaking.
What's happened with us not passing a texting bill, all the individual cities and municipalities have passed them, and they're not the same. So when you drive from one end of the state to the other, nobody had a clue what the texting laws were. They could confiscate your phone in some of them, they could arrest you in some of them. The fines were all over the ball field.
The new law prohibits the act of manually texting on your cell phone while actively driving. This does not include phone calls or GPS usage. Lawmakers stress that this isn't a phone ban, but a texting ban.
It's actually physically texting on the instrument. Some of the newer cars have it where you can voice text and voice respond. That's not a problem. It's when you physically put your hands on the instrument and are physically texting or receiving text and reading them.
Statewide, police officers are now allowed to ticket drivers if they are visibly seen texting while in motion. Lawmakers hope this will save lives.
There is no text that is so important that you've got to send it while you're driving. And if it's about your personal liberties, it's also about mine. I have a right not to be rammed by your vehicle because you're busy texting someone and you're not able to stop and you run right into me. So I'm a firm believer that that is something that we should not do. I understand the arguments against it, but from a public safety standpoint, I don't believe we should be able to text and drive.
Jill Swing has been dealing with her daughter's epilepsy for the past several years. Mary Louise suffers from seizures every 60 seconds. But now with the legalization of cannabis oil, her mother's hoping her 6-year-old daughter can find some relief.
She has intractable epilepsy, which means that she has tried at least she's tried 9 different medications, none of which have controlled her seizures.
Mary Louise is one of many South Carolina children who suffer from epilepsy, a disorder which is marked by recurrent episodes of sensory disturbance and loss of consciousness associated with abnormal electrical activity in the brain.
And she literally has hundreds of those seizures throughout the day, despite being on 2 medicines currently.
None of the medications were providing enough relief for Mary Louise, and her doctors at MUSC were out of options.
Mary Louise requires constant care because she has drop seizures every couple of minutes. Somebody has to be hands-on with her every moment. I can leave her maybe sitting on the sofa for a moment and go grab something out of the kitchen, but there's always the chance that she'll get up, and when she does, she falls.
That's when her parents heard about cannabis oil being used in Colorado to treat severe epilepsy.
It's very low in THC, so it doesn't make them high, but it's high in the CBD or cannabidiol, which is the component of marijuana that actually has a neuroprotectant effect and helps control the seizures.
There's a test group in Colorado of kids that have severe epilepsy and that haven't been getting relief from conventional pharmaceutical medications, and there's an 85% success rate in knocking it down to about 95 to 100% relief. So you're talking about changing people's lives.
Senator Tom Davis of Beaufort pushed for the legalization of cannabis oil in South Carolina.
Before this bill was signed into law by Governor Haley, it was illegal in South Carolina for anyone to possess CBD oil, even though it has been shown in clinical studies to provide relief to those with epilepsy. Now that this law has been enacted, parents can possess CBD oil, they can administer it to their child, and it alleviates the epileptic seizures tremendously. The only precondition is you have to have a doctor certify that the patient can benefit from that oil.
My daughter's not going to get high from this. She doesn't smoke it. It comes in the form of an oil. It's just, you give it, put in a little dropper and give it just like you give a baby Tylenol.
I mean, the initial reaction by a lot of people is we're not going to legalize marijuana in South Carolina. I mean, a lot of people have preconceived ideas about marijuana, not commenting on whether those are good or bad, but just saying that the education challenge was to explain to them that we're talking about a chemical derivative of cannabis that doesn't have the psychoactive component, doesn't have the THC. It's rich in other things that provide relief. And so once you break it down like that, and then once you bring the girls or the little boys and the children that are suffering, and you talk about how this can provide relief, you really start to change hearts and minds at that point in time.
No one can be harmed by it. It has no street value. It has no, nothing in it that can hurt anybody. It can only help those who are suffering.
While this law will change the lives of those with epilepsy for the better, the next step is to have cannabis oil available in the state.
The challenge becomes, once you've legalized CBD oil, how do you get a hold of it? I mean, what's the supply? And so an important part of this law that Governor Haley signed was creating of a study committee that's to look at this matter in the summer and fall of this year, and then come back to the General Assembly in January and make recommendations in regard to the in-state cultivation of cannabis in South Carolina, and also methods and procedures and protocols whereby it's then you take the chemical from it and then have it dispensed. So it really sets the stage for the next step, which is, okay, now that you've legalized CBD oil, how can we come up with a stock of it for people in South Carolina to get a hold of it?
And for Mary Louise and her family, that can't come soon enough.
Mary Louise has a twin brother, and to me, he really says it best, because he says, Mommy, if Mary Louise can get this medicine, then that means that hopefully she'll be able to walk and talk and play with me. And to me, that just melts my heart, because he loves his sister very, very much, and he wants so badly to have that interaction with her. And I think that that's what this having access to CBD oil would do for her.
For Palmetto Scene, I'm Katie Gear.